There are places that never truly sleep. In their shadows, forgotten stories whisper and linger, awaiting new footsteps, new voices, and the courage of those who dare to seek the truth. Tonight, Riverside State Hospital calls out once more, its silent halls hungry for answers, and for those brave enough to ask the wrong questions. But beware, not every secret wants to be found, and sometimes the real nightmare begins only after you press record. The electric click of the recorder cut through the stale air, sharp as a blade. The cold pressed against Arthur's skin, mingling with the smell of dried mold and muted rot. His flashlight caught motes of dust swirling restlessly above hospital tile, each step, each exhaled breath seeming far too loud for the empty corridor. The place had slept for decades, its secrets sealed beneath layers of dust and forgotten files. Yet something about the records room felt unfinished, as if it had waited, silent and patient, for a new set of eyes to disturb its order. Arthur's hand hovered over the first cabinet, as if the very metal expected him. First real sign this place remembers more than it should. A single folder slipped free, gliding off the cabinet and landing upright in a cloud of dust, as if it had chosen him. Arthur froze, every muscle tightening, heart ticking in his ears. He reached for the file, its label aged and brittle, and as his fingers brushed the cover, a faint whisper echoed through the dark, impossible to place, but unmistakably his name. The hallway's chill deepened, pressing on his spine. Beneath the brittle title was a black and white photograph that turned his blood to stone. His own younger face staring straight back from the yellowed page. The air tasted like static. Recorder picks up silence where there should be explanation. Arthur flipped open the file, his breath tight in his chest. Each page seemed to pulse with impossible familiarity, details only he should recognize, blurred between memory and imagination. The recorder's red light blinked calmly, but when he played back his own words, gaps of silence replaced entire sentences. No static, just clean, intentional nothingness. It was as if the building, or something within it, decided what could be kept on record and what must be erased. How did this file know him better than he knew himself? The boundary between observer and observed is breaking. He moved down the aisle, every step followed by a flicker in the overhead lights. As if awakened by his presence, the fixtures buzzed to life in sequence, illuminating only the path ahead, never behind. The air carried a hint of ozone, and from the dark at his back came a single prolonged scrape, metal on stone, stopping when he stopped. He turned, heart thundering, but the corridor was empty. Yet the sensation of being watched grew heavier with every breath. Was the hospital responding to him, or was he merely following a script that had already been written? The environment itself has started to react. He stopped in front of a door marked Records, Authorized Personnel Only. The handle shifted under his grip, almost warm. As he pushed it open, the lights inside flickered all at once, casting long, shifting shadows over the endless files. In the hush, his own name, crisp and unbroken, echoed from somewhere behind the cabinets, a soundless invitation or a warning. Arthur's recorder, now resting on a nearby shelf, blinked as if it too was watching. He whispered his name for a test, but on playback, those words did not exist. The silence was no longer hiding, it was curating. When reality is edited, whose story is this really? A surge of confusion tightened his grip as the file's contents shifted beneath his eyes, pages rearranging, words blurring, a signature at the bottom now hesitant and uncertain. From somewhere past the door, a nurse's voice echoed, calm but clinical. Patient demonstrates resistance to orientation. Arthur's reflection danced across glass, sometimes aged and haggard, sometimes not his at all. Every time he tried to state his title, the playback erased it, freezing the moment in muffled static. Now even the clocks disagreed with each other, time fragmenting across 3 overlapping realities. Was he documenting the supernatural or living inside someone's case notes? Written records and lived memories are no longer matching. The next page didn't just reveal, it accused. His name under patient, not doctor, the ink pressed deep as if to warn him. Voices in the corridor became overlapping judgments, clinical and detached. Subject exhibits insight, followed by immediate reversal, intoned a tone he realized might be his own, but flatter, recorded from somewhere else. Arthur pressed the record button in defiance, only to find the device already running, every counter reset to 0. The lights above him staged a silent countdown as doors ahead unlocked seemingly on their own. The further he moved, the more he wondered. Was he the one testing the hospital, or had it been studying him all along? One last choice. Will he confront the truth or vanish into repetition? He pushed through the last unlocked door, swallowed by the sterile glow of a room that looked both ancient and painfully new. Medical charts lined the walls, all bearing his name, each one chronicling different lives, different diagnoses, none of them matching the memories he desperately clung to. In the center, an old recorder awaited, its display flickering between numbers and static. Arthur reached for it, half afraid, half resigned. The moment his fingers brushed the device, all voices ceased. Only his own heartbeat, and then, faintly, the question he'd avoided all along. If every story is just a loop, whose memory survives when the tape runs out? In a world made of stories, does proof even matter? Arthur stared at the recorder, its blinking light the only rhythm in a room where time seemed to tangle. His fingers hovered over the play button as every memory, paranormal investigations, years of case notes, all his proofs rushed at him, then slipped away. With a breath, he pressed play. The tape spun, filling the room with an old recording, his own voice, methodical and sane, narrating an investigation that grew more fragmented, more desperate, until at last it sputtered out in silence. And in that hush, Arthur realized he was both the subject and the observer, the ghost and the haunted, forever searching for closure in a story that never wanted to end. Sometimes the answers are in the silence. As the last echo of his voice faded, the lights dimmed and the wall seemed to draw in closer, the hospital resettling into its long, uneasy slumber. Arthur set the recorder down, its red light flickering one final time before succumbing to darkness. For a moment, everything was utterly still, the dust, the air, even his thoughts. Then, somewhere deep within the maze of corridors, another quiet click sounded, ending his story or perhaps beginning someone else's. In Riverside State Hospital, endings are just doorways, and every silence waits to be broken by another question, another lost soul reaching for the truth. Sometimes the greatest mystery is why we keep searching. Outside, the sky presses heavy against fractured windows, dusk forever stretching across abandoned grounds. Deep in the unused wing, a faint outline passes down the hall, uncertain, burdened by equipment and hope. Each footstep stirs echoes, awaking traces of every investigator, every patient, every story that could never quite be told. Somewhere behind the silence, that same small click, a recorder, starting up, repeating the ritual. New eyes shine a light on old darkness, and the haunted cycle quietly begins again, almost as if summoned by the questions Arthur left behind. The circle closes, then silently opens once more. Somewhere in Riverside's endless corridors, a forgotten door creaks open, dust motes swirling in the faint light, a single shadow pausing on the threshold. The cycle stirs, new footsteps, new curiosity, a new investigation fueled by ancient rumors. Unaware of the stories before or the warnings left in static, the newcomer presses record. The hospital, waiting all these years, welcomes another question, another desperate search for truth or closure. In places like this, time isn't measured by clocks, but by the number of souls drawn into the mystery. New voices enter, old stories whisper from the dark. The newcomer's voice trembles on the first recording, curiosity mingling with nervous laughter that quickly fades into hushed wonder. Every corner hides a secret, a flicker of movement in an abandoned ward, the distant shuffle of unseen feet. Each discovery threads itself into the old tapestry of the hospital's legend, though the investigator doesn't know it yet. In the shadows, the echo of Arthur's story lingers, blending with the whispered hopes and fears of all who came before. The building watches patiently, ready to reshape its mysteries for yet another seeker willing to listen to the silence. The tape turns, the mystery deepens, and another chapter waits in the dark. With each step, the newcomer unknowingly repeats a ritual, questions into a recorder, breaths held at every unexplained noise. The hospital seems to shift in response, doors that open without a touch, drafts that carry traces of names not spoken in years. Outside, the sun sets with no witness but the building itself. Inside, the loop quietly closes and begins anew, curiosity feeding the shadows, uncertainty sharpening the echoes. In Riverside, the only thing more certain than mystery is that someone will always come searching, hoping their story will end differently. Every answer sparks a new enigma in these halls. Somewhere behind sealed doors, the faintest imprint of footsteps lingers in the gathering dusk, evidence of another search beginning, another story weaving itself into the fabric of Riverside State Hospital. The newcomer's voice, uncertain yet resolute, marks the latest attempt to map the unmappable, to understand what has bewildered so many before. Yet the building absorbs it all, fear, hope, every question, transforming each into just another echo among the endless halls. And as night settles in, the only true certainty is this: the story never truly ends. It simply waits, just out of sight, for the next soul brave enough to press record. To search, to listen, to wonder, this is Riverside's eternal promise. As dawn edges in, its pale light slips through broken blinds, touching endless rows of forgotten files. Outside, the world continues, unaware of the quiet compulsion drawing the curious back inside. Within Riverside, each hopeful investigator leaves traces, notes scribbled in margins, recordings half erased, new questions layered atop old fears. The cycle is neither curse nor blessing, but an invitation to witness, to ask, to become for a time part of a place that refuses to forget. And so, with every sunrise, the promise remains. Anyone can be the next to try, but no one ever leaves unchanged. Every sunrise renews the question, what happened here? Long after footsteps have faded and daylight slips away, Riverside's halls hold their silence, thick with the residue of questions left unanswered. Somewhere an old recorder settles back onto a dusty shelf, its last story spun, waiting for the next hand to find it. Shadows curl in corners no light dares reach, sheltering the restless memories of those who searched for closure and found only mystery. Outside, the world forgets. Inside, every wall remembers, listening for the next voice brave or desperate enough to disturb the quiet. The cycle lingers, the legend grows, and still the hospital keeps its secret safe. Some doors never close, they simply wait. Beneath the cracked ceilings, Riverside's silence grows deeper, layered with unseen footsteps and faded hopes. Even as time blunts the sharpest memories, the old hospital wraps every new visitor in its endless hush, an embrace both comforting and cold. For a heartbeat, it almost seems peaceful, a place just waiting to be forgotten. Yet behind every wandering echo, there waits the urge to search, to record, to prove that something astonishing still lingers in the gloom. And so the legend persists, surviving on voices, whispers, and the certainty that anyone could become part of the story if only they dare to listen. As long as someone wonders, the haunting goes on. Somewhere beyond the reach of ordinary days, Riverside endures, its empty wards and dusty stairwells guarding the stories that no one else could finish. Visitors come and go, drawn by rumor and shadow, each bringing their own fears, their own questions. Some leave fragments behind, a page, a tape, a memory out of place. But most find themselves changed, haunted by a silence that feels like recognition. The legend of Riverside is not in any single story, but in the endless possibility, the next arrival, the next recording, the next attempt to uncover what waits beyond the last locked door. Some places are built from questions, not answers. And so, the doors remain cracked just enough for hope, or doubt, to slip inside. Each new day brings the faint chance of discovery, a ringing footstep on tile, a voice whispering questions into the dust. All the while, the hospital listens and waits, holding on to its secrets with the patience of stone. For those who leave, the memory is uneasy. For those who return, the mystery only deepens. At Riverside, there are no true endings, just beginnings that repeat again and again as the legend folds every seeker into its endless shadow. For each who leaves, another will someday arrive. A new sound echoed, slow, deliberate footsteps approaching the old recorder left behind. The building seemed to hold its breath as a shadow bent down, pressed record, and whispered a question the walls had never heard before. The story wasn't finished. Someone, or something, was about to start searching all over again. But what will they find when they do? Stay tuned for next time when Riverside's doors open and a new mystery steps into the dark.